So last night, somebody tried to drive a U-Haul truck into the barriers in front of the White House. And when the person was removed from the vehicle, they pulled out along with the suspect a Nazi flag, and it was thrown on the ground and prominently displayed in a place that was easily visible from whoever was filming the incident. And I'm not going to say 100% for sure whether or not that was set up to look that way and be that way, but I will say that I wouldn't be surprised. And I will say that I know everybody saw what happened with the Patriot Front last week, and I think it's fairly obvious that that is a psyop. Like, anybody who believes anything other than that is delusional, paranoid, afraid, and that's exactly what they're banking on. Somebody who has the delusion of fear and is viewing this content with that lens. I had to think of how I wanted to say that, because you can't look at that unemotionally, logically, and think that it's real. It doesn't match any of the other movements of this nature that we've seen in the past, whether it be the Proud Boys with their rally, with the torches and things like that, that they also say probably had FBI presence. January 6th, that they also say probably had FBI presence. But go look at those situations and it was still chaos. There was some organization, some chaos. Clearly was not one unified front moving in synchronicity. But the Patriot Front is. I mean, everybody said it. I don't know if you guys saw that clip with Joe Rogan, like laughing at them and stuff, and how well matching they are, how uniform their body types and structures are. And that's impossible. In this day and age, it's absolutely impossible. Without any economic incentive, even with money, you cannot get that many well-trained, good physiqued people for even the military. Why would this random group that we just now heard about be able to do all of that? It really doesn't make sense. And going back to this guy who drove into the barriers in front of the White House, what was it to prove? What was it to do? What was going to happen once he got inside? He was going to break the barrier down, drive a U-Haul truck inside, and then shake his flag around. Did he have any weapons on him? We don't know yet. I'm sure, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate whether he does or doesn't. Probably not even going to talk about that. But I would assume that if this was a psyop, that they would say that he had weapons on him. But none of that matters, because what was that to prove? Who on which side, let's say it was a Republican extremist, right-wing nationalists, terrorists, the worst of the worst, the worst nightmare of these people, that the thing that they want you to believe is out there. Let's say it was one of those people, and they did that, and he crashed through that barrier, and he drove onto that White House lawn, and let's go as far as possible. Let's say he gathered as much speed as possible and plowed that thing right into the side of the White House building. Then what? Then what? Nobody's more than likely nobody would die in any type. Like, I am thoroughly, if the White House isn't able to take a hit from a vehicle with minimal damage like that, then it's not very, the fortifications, I think that would mean that it's lacking. So I don't believe that hitting that thing with a U-Haul truck is going to like destroy the building or kill anyone. Somebody could be injured or hurt, but it just doesn't seem like this was any type of coherent plan. It looks like it was a visual spectacle. And now, just because it just seems to be, and more than likely was, just a visual spectacle, then it doesn't mean that it was fake or a psyop. That, it very well could have just been some random person who disgruntled and didn't really fully have a coherent statement to make, but still did something. I mean, that is happening out here. Either way, you shouldn't be afraid of it. That's one thing that's for sure. But more importantly, just pay attention to all this weird stuff that's been happening lately. After they're losing their grip of fear from viruses or whatever else, racism, LGBTQ, trans things, when you can't, when you start to lose the grip of believing that it's this dangerous outside, that it's just raining fire every time that we walk around, they kind of need something to keep those juices flowing. And that's what these kind of things strike me as. But it seems very lazy. But we live in a very lazy time, in a very lazy society. So it's not, it's not the work that people do. Like all of the fatigue that you've seen people have in their workplace. Maybe if you work a 9 to 5, whether remotely or in office, I'm sure you've noticed over the past years the difference in people's mentality and behaviors. And even if you work an isolated job, just going out and experiencing the service industry, restaurants, retail stores, there's a lower quality of service that's out there because most people are seemingly fatigued at what they do. And I will not say justly so. I mean, sometimes justly so, and there's a lot going on in life, and we're mentally more bogged down than any people because we're a more cognitive society than past ones have been. But I'm saying all this to say that at a government level, people could probably still be experiencing that too. FBI, all of the agents, they're all just humans. So if all these people wake up and they're like, man, screw my job, they still half-ass do it and they half-ass believe that they're saving the world. I think that's why we get these little half-ass psyops that we're seeing here. It's just not even like the way that we think that this administration is incompetent. It's not just in the things that we want them to do. I'm sure they're also incompetent in the things that they want to do, meaning that they have these plans and they probably sounds good in their head, but they're too stupid to execute them effectively. I mean, I couldn't assume anything less from the absolute joke of the characters that we have in power right now. So I think that if you ask me my educated opinion, I would say that these are poorly executed psyops. That are, or maybe they're not, or maybe they're like, yeah, maybe I don't understand the target. And maybe they're just as effective as they need to be in getting these people more afraid of assault rifles and white people and nationalists. I don't know. Looks funny to me, though. What do you think?